G'day there, Scott Farley here from F3 Industrial Design, and today I want to talk to you about part of my job which I really enjoy, and that's prototyping. So prototyping's the point where you've done all the hard work, you've done all the design work, market research, engineering, CAD, and then you get all your parts back and they all sitting on the bench, and you just got to basically put them together and make sure that everything you're thinking through the process and through the project has worked, and it all comes together, generally really nicely in the prototyping process, and you actually get a physical product out of what you've been designing. There's sort of two types of prototyping, and one type of prototyping not a lot of people use, but we use extensively here at F3. And I just wanted to run you through the two options and make sure you are aware of the second one, because it's got some really great down the line benefits that the other types of prototyping don't really have. So there's sort of two types. First, gets a lot of airtime. It's 3D printing. It's called additive prototyping, and it's where you're basically adding a material layer upon layer to make the product. And you've seen all the videos where they sort of build up on a platform, and you get the result. All those videos are all very high-speed cameras, speed the process right up, so it looks really, really easy and quick, but they are still quite a long process, and they still cost a fair amount of money. And you've got numerous types. You've got SLA, SLS, FDM, so many different types. You can print different materials. You've got all sorts of plastic simulants and even metal. Now there's certainly some really beneficial parts of 3D printing, certainly in medical and aeronautical, where you just simply can't make products any other way than by using 3D printing processes, where you can throw away all your tooling restrictions, and you can core things out internally and make things light and strong. But the second type of prototyping, which we use a lot, is called subtractive prototyping. So instead of actually adding material to your part every time and building it up, you're basically taking a lump of metal or whatever the material might be and just removing what you don't need to result in the product. And the great thing about this subtractive manufacturing is you can actually use the material you might use in production. So there's very close and sometimes exact materials available to mill from, and if they're not exact, then they're very, very close, and they don't have the layering issue that additive prototyping has, where even though the material's the correct or simulant, you don't have the layering process, which can sometimes cause delamination and cause weakness in parts, especially in snap fits and things. Obviously SLS, which is a laser sintered nylon, it's good with snap fits, but then again, the finish is awful. So you've got this compromise between good structural parts and terrible looking parts. And so what we find with subtractive manufacturing or prototyping is you can actually end up with a product that looks almost exactly like the product that's going to be put on the market. And the benefit of this, not only does it look the same or very similar, it actually is a very similar strength ratios, and so you can actually do testing and all your literature or your brochures, because of the visuals of it, presentations. You can actually go along to your focus groups, and there's huge benefits. So some of the benefits of doing subtractive prototyping are obviously the fact that your final product looks very similar and acts very similar to your prototype. So you can go along and do it. This is an example. Like this is the prototype. It's a milled part. You can test it. You can take it to a focus group. People can see what it does. This is a double cam ratchet. It's a dog collar. We made this one into. So you can go along and test it. You can do all your testing. You can see it's really high quality. You go and put that in a focus group. No one's going to know any difference. This is the production part, and you can tell, other than the colour, there's very little difference in the two parts. They still act the same way. You've done all your testing. Your focus group likes it. Before you commit to tooling and all the costs of manufacturing and marketing and sending this thing to market, you've actually got a pretty good idea that the market wants it, and you can go and confidently put your tooling in place and go to market. This is another example. This is the sort of level you can get to. This is the prototype. So this is the exploding fish rotating rod holder. As you can tell, it's a really lovely finish. there's absolutely no real difference. This is a cast stainless steel product. So aside from inclusions in casting and a bit of silicon that gets added to the material, these materials are almost exactly the same as what you'd use in production. And although you can't go and do your third-party testing, you can do your own internal testing, and we made sure that this product here was going to take the strength requirements of the fishing industry. This is a fishing rotating rod holder, so it rotates, and this is the production version, so you can tell there's very little difference to it. You basically just push the button and the rod rotates, so you can change your angles of your rods dynamically when you're fishing. Really great idea, but we needed to make sure before we went and had the client invest in tooling costs of that product, that it was going to manage the conditions of a fishing environment. You can go to all sorts of levels. This is a big pool filter, you can go and put it in place, go and test it. The level of detail is amazing. Obviously there's a lid, more acrylic. We've got the filter, and this is all just 3D, cut on a 5-axis CNC mill out of the materials that's very, very similar. In this case, very, very similar to what's going to be used in production. So they can go and be tested. You can do all your presentations, or your literature, or your brochures, or the photographs. And we've certainly had situations where we've done presentations to multinationals, and it's been the difference between getting in the door and not getting in the door, because you can get a really good video produced using a product that looks almost exactly like the final product, and you can show it in use, and you can show it being used by people in real situations. So there's a very little ambiguity about what might still need to be done on that product, and then you present it. Someone who's investing on the other end just goes, look, this thing ticks all the boxes, let's have a look at this thing. Whereas if you had a 3D printed product and there's still a lot of outstanding questions about will it actually perform in its application, do people like it, does it look great? A lot of the surface finishes you get on 3D prototypes aren't the best, so they don't look great. And so they just don't have that emotional bond to people who are, humans on the other end of the phone or on the other end of the email, and they are subject to emotions like you and I. And if the thing just doesn't look great, you're not going to get through the door. And if it does look fantastic, you've put a lot of effort in, and you've made it. You've tested a lot of the conditions it's going to be used in. A lot of the boxes are ticked, and it's far more likely you get an interview with them. So as you can see, the two different types, I thought I'd just try and point out the secondary, the subtractive prototyping, which is not really commonly known, and make you aware of it. It's not much more expensive than 3D printing. It is more expensive in most cases, but when you consider all the down the line benefits, especially the time period where if you've got 3D printed products and you can't do any testing, you can't do any literature, you can't do any presentations, that whole period between when you've come up with the idea and when you've got your tooling and production done, you can actually be productively going and getting orders, getting investors, doing whatever you want to do, trying to make partnerships and distribute with distributors, all those sort of processes that have to be put on hold until you actually have a product if you're doing it the 3D printing way. So I hope that was useful, and if you need any help with it, just get in touch on the website. See ya.